Hey everyone, welcome to Talks of Thailand. My name is Jon. Today's story is about a man who has some strange justifications for why he did the things he did in Thailand. And I can't wait for you guys to listen to this story to know what your opinions are. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, give the video a like. Let's get in to today's story. The first time I went to Thailand, I went for 2 weeks back in 2013. And for the first week, it was fantastic. I wouldn't say that it stood out from all the other holidays that I'd been on during the years prior to that holiday, though it was good, and I was enjoying myself around Bangkok. Unfortunately, I was privy to an incident in Pattaya that gave me two thoughts about Thailand, whether it was somewhere I would like to return to. Although I was having a good time, I was out one evening and there was a foreigner who was attacked by a group of Thai people. One foreign person, and there must have been at least 6 Thai guys completely laying into him. From what I gathered, apparently he was arguing about the bill. Was he being overcharged or not? And although at the time I thought he must have been drunk and stupid and he should have paid what he owed, the fact that he was attacked with such vigour, with such disdain about the fact that he was just one person and there were 6 of them, it really made me take a step back and think, do I want to come back to Thailand again? I will say that that little incident completely ruined my holiday, because I couldn't believe how vicious those people were. When you learn more about Thailand, you will understand it's never a one-on-one fight, is it? It's always one foreigner versus how many Thai people. They never want to fight alone, it's always in groups. I left Thailand on the one hand having a fantastic time, yet on the other hand believing that I probably wouldn't return because I didn't want to be a foreigner who might end up on the wrong side of an argument with a Thai person who will therefore go get his friends to come on board and attack me too. That was only one incident that I saw, and while I suppose it probably was only an isolated incident, and you're not going to see too many things like that, the very fact that it happened in the first place startled me. I left Thailand believing that I'd had a great time, though I most likely wouldn't return. Back then I was around 54 years old, quite close to retirement, though not really retired yet or anytime soon, and I was already planning my next holiday for the following year. I'd already been to a number of countries around Asia, but Thailand didn't really stand out. It was great and I had a good time aside from that incident, though it didn't really stand out the way that some people seem to describe it as doing for them. I was thinking about next heading to Cambodia, because when I was in Thailand, I was speaking to somebody who said they'd been there, and they talked about how much they liked it, how it was like an old version of Thailand, and that's where I thought I would spend my 2014 holiday. During the remainder of 2013 and the start of 2014, a few things changed. While I'd already booked my holiday to Cambodia, I booked that at the end of 2013, for 6 months' time. I liked to plan ahead. I just happened across a few documentaries about Southeast Asia that turned my understanding of the place from a place you would go on holiday to a place that you might want to live in. I was always thinking about places that I might want to live in when I visited them. Could I see myself living here or there or anywhere that I went? It was these documentaries that I watched and the understanding that it was a place of retirement, and the understanding mainly, if I'm being perfectly honest, that it was a sort of place that you could retire in now as opposed to having to work for an extra 10 years at home. That was what interested me more than anything else, not necessarily the place itself. I didn't really give it too much thought though until I was heading off to Cambodia in 2014. This was, excited to go, transiting through Thailand, though I wasn't going to be staying in Thailand. When I got to Phnom Penh, I have to say that I didn't feel like I did in Thailand. I didn't necessarily feel Thailand was very special. I was in Taiwan a few years before this, and if anything, I preferred that, though Cambodia, it just didn't do it for me. I endured a few days, and I will use the word endure, and I decided, instead of continuing with that, I would just go back to Thailand and see what that was going to be like for another time. It wasn't that I was going to do anything other than have a holiday, or take things further, or find myself in a position that would change the course of my life. That wasn't the intention of all. Just go to Thailand and have the remainder of my holiday there. I hadn't paid for any hotels yet in Cambodia, apart from for the first few days when I arrived, though it was that feeling of not feeling Cambodia the way I thought it was that made me go back to Thailand. Oftentimes, when I'm looking back on this, I just wish I stayed in Cambodia and gave it a little bit longer of my time, because if I had, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. So 2014, I found myself back in Thailand, 10 days before my return flight home. I'd managed to cancel the Cambodia leg of that trip and fly directly from Thailand, where the long-haul flight was from, so all that was good, and I had 10 days or just over to really enjoy myself. I didn't want to go back to Pattaya, based on the incident from the previous year, though I did spend a few days in Bangkok. Nothing much of note happening. Based on some research that I'd done, I decided to go to Hua Hin, which was a couple of hours south, although down the other side of Thailand, not the Pattaya side, and I thought I would go there, spend a few days there, and if I want to stay longer, great. If I don't, I will go somewhere else. I got a taxi down to Hua Hin, very affordable, very cheap, and one of the things about Thailand that I loved, and I suppose some people are going to disagree with this, I loved how people who did basic jobs and manual jobs, such as taxi driving, and I will jump a bit further ahead, such as building work and things like that, such as, plumbers and electricians. I loved how they were paid such small amounts of money, because I found at home they were paid way over the odds. If I'm working on my house and I need something doing to my house, and I'm earning an average salary, surely for me to be able to fix something on my house, I need to be able to pay someone less than an average salary. Otherwise, where am I going to get the money from to pay them? I know some people will disagree with that, especially tradesmen, and I can understand where your disagreement comes from, though the fact that tradespeople in my country now get paid more than someone earning an average salary, that really, really aggravates me. I suppose it's one of the reasons why properties are so expensive, because people earn too much money to work on them. Anyway, my rant over. I got to Hua Hin, and immediately I liked the vibes there. The fact it was close to the sea, yet not like Pattaya, was something that gave me a bit more comfort. I didn't think you'd have the same kind of rowdy behaviour that you'd get from the locals who didn't like foreigners and wanted to attack them en masse. That didn't feel like it would be something that would happen in Hua Hin, though I suppose it might do at some time. I didn't feel also like it was a place where I would have anything negative happen to me like I did in Pattaya. I will have to openly admit that after I saw that incident happen in Pattaya, believing that perhaps the guy did make a mistake, or perhaps he was the one who was telling the truth and the bar was lying, I don't know. But after that, I really thought that something like that had a big chance of happening to me in Pattaya, which is why I had those feelings about Thailand. In Hua Hin, though, I didn't feel like that. It was a feeling I had in Hua Hin that I felt more comfortable, more at home in a way, and it was that feeling of being at home that after being there for only a day, I decided I was going to spend the rest of my holiday there. I was staying in a really nice hotel, quite close to the centre of the city, and after being there for the first day, where I only spent a bit of time by the pool, went for something to eat in the hotel restaurant, didn't even venture out. The second day, I did go for a walk out of the hotel, going first to the place along the front. I would later learn where those restaurants are, which are supposedly built in a place they're not meant to be built, yet have somehow survived all the orders to tear them down. Of course, there was probably money involved being paid to the people to let them stand. I walked into a restaurant there, had something to eat for lunch, then I continued walking a bit further, and I was just down this little back alley. I loved to go and explore the local areas and see what it was all like, and I noticed in the distance that there was a massage place, which I'd walked past a lot of, though this massage place, there was only one girl sat outside, and from a distance, there was something about her that attracted me. I'm not going to lie and say I didn't like the girls in Thailand. I did. I loved the girls in Thailand. They were the best thing about the country. The best thing about the country was the girls. And I suppose many people wouldn't even go there if it wasn't for the girls. And I loved that about Thailand. I noticed her and thought, you know what? I'm going to go and enjoy a massage because I've earned it. It's only 200 baht for a massage. And I knew in the back of my mind that other things could have been available too, though that wasn't front and centre of my mind. It was just, let's go and have a massage, she looks great. Wasn't expecting to get into a full-blown conversation with her during the massage, but we did. She asked me, exactly what they ask you when you're in a massage, something to do with the word special in Thailand, and no, I'm not interested in that at the time, but I am interested in going for a couple of drinks with you if you would like to go with me. She said unfortunately she can't, she's the only one there, though some other staff member is coming in a few hours' time. She said to me, if you want to hang around and maybe have a longer massage, when she comes, I'll go with you. It was discussed in relation to what that would mean. I knew it wasn't just going to be her going with me for free, though I just wanted to speak to her. I don't know what it was. Perhaps when she was giving me the massage and we were talking about things, it wasn't like I'd spoken to other girls in Thailand in the past. It was quite different. She was talking about how she was actually living in Hua Hin, and her mother was in Hua Hin too. Her family weren't up in Isan, where they were originally from. Her father was no longer around, nothing to do with sending money back home. It was, my mum's here, I'm looking after her here, my son's here, he's going to school here. She was probably, based on the time I'd been in Thailand, before and a bit now and also in Cambodia too, which was slightly different but quite similar, she was probably the first girl that I'd spoken to in that region who was actually living in and had her family in the place where she was working. I think that was what piqued my interest in her, because I'd heard it time and time again, I suppose from when I'd been to Thailand first. Seeing a different girl every day, and it was always, I'm from Isan, my family's there, I send money to them, my children are there, and everything like that. With her it was different. Again, I suppose everyone can look at somebody and make something different about them if you want to see something different about them, and I was seeing the fact that her family was here. It was that perhaps she wasn't as poor as everybody else, perhaps she was just enjoying working as a masseuse, perhaps she was looking for someone. I'm giving myself all these justifications for being with her, and believing I want to speak to her more, and agreeing to give her some money to go out and have a few drinks with me, though it's a justification of all this that made me do what I did. I ended up paying for a 3-hour massage, again, just a massage. This other staff member comes, she talks briefly with her in Thai, and we leave the place together mid-afternoon and headed to the front again. Although we didn't go to a restaurant, we went to this little bar overlooking the sea, just ordered a drink each, she ordered a drink, I ordered a drink, and before long, hours have passed, it's already dark, and I'm not drunk, and she's not necessarily drunk, though I just felt like I'd developed this huge connection to her in a way that I hadn't felt like I'd developed a connection to any of the other girls I'd met before. It was this connection that we had, kind of like a shared interest in what we both are and who we both are. I should have perhaps known that I was falling for the version of herself that she was selling and not for who she really was. I thought what she was telling me was who she really was. She was 23 years old, which I felt was quite young in comparison to me, though she was a very mature 23-year-old. She had her head screwed on. It was like she knew what she wanted from life. She knew the world. She had a head on her shoulders that I would say was that of someone who was 43. Her knowledge about things, the fact that she knew when we were talking about world events. Her English wasn't great, though I would talk about something and she would know, and I had never seen that before. Usually, when you're speaking to someone in Thailand, especially a girl like that, you can't really speak about anything above just a normal, nice to meet you, what do you do kind of thing. With her, though, we were discussing something, and perhaps she didn't really know what it was, and she was just saying she did, I don't know, though I felt like she was mature for her age, and I felt young for my age. Because of that, I justified the age gap as being just a number, because at the end of the day, age is just a number, isn't it, really? Some people will disagree and say, you've got no business being with someone like that, though I don't agree with that. I agreed with myself when I thought what I thought. I could see myself spending a lot more time with her. I can't remember if it was 9 or 10 days of my holiday left, but let's see what the evening brings. I was getting hungry. We went to go and have something to eat, and she's not saying she needs to go, she's not got places to be or people to see, or she doesn't need to go and see her family. She didn't say anything like that. It was just, she was waiting for me to say what I wanted, and then once I'd said what I wanted, she was just agreeing, because I said, I want to go and eat with you, and that was fine to her. Would you like to come to my hotel? That was fine too. Do you want to swim in the pool first? That's fine. I had a great hotel. It had a little jacuzzi, or I'm not sure if you'd even call it a jacuzzi. It was a hot water kind of thing, though like a little plunge pool, I would say, on the balcony, very small. Would you like to go in here, get a couple of drinks? And we're just frolicking around and enjoying each other's company, and I suppose I'm already falling into the trap that I believe we had developed a real connection with each other over that short amount of time. I really wasn't thinking that this was something casual. I'm thinking that I've developed feelings for her, not strong feelings yet. Let's see where this goes kind of thing, though I believe that she's exactly like me. Okay, she's got feelings for me, not strong feelings yet too, though she wants to progress this and see how it goes. It wasn't casual, it wasn't transactional, it wasn't just an in-the-moment thing, and I never see her again, it wasn't that. That was never what it was meant to be, and I believe that she felt the same thing, because we were just able to be with each other in a way that was so different to all the other Thai girls that I'd met. When I say all the other, if I say I was in Thailand before for 2 weeks, and maybe I might have met 10 girls, perhaps in Cambodia I met 2, and when I was in Bangkok before going to Hua Hin I met 1. Is that a lot? I don't know. Though with her it wasn't like that, it was different. All the other ones were a much of a muchness. All the other ones were the same, all the other ones felt the same, and I believe they were the same. With her it really was different. I always believe that if you feel something's different, it must be something real, that feeling. The feeling was real. Again, I'm just probably going around in circles here, not necessarily knowing what I'm talking about or doing. With her, I felt special. I asked her what she's doing tomorrow, and she said she had to work. I said, "Can you stop working?" But she said no, she's got to, because she's the only person there until 3 p.m, so she had to work. That really upset me, but she did say, "When I finish work, I will come and see you again if you want me to," and I said, "Yes, please." The following morning she left, and I was thinking after about an hour, I don't want her to be there because I know what happens there. Perhaps I should go back and have another long massage. So I did go back, about 11 a.m. They were open quite early, and I arrived, and there was nobody there, though the door's open and I walk in, and she's already giving a massage to someone, and she pokes her head around and looks a bit shy and says, "I won't be long." So I took a seat outside. She told me to sit outside. I think she meant to lock the door, but I don't know. I managed to open it. I'm sitting outside, and before long, this other foreigner comes out, looking just like a normal foreigner. She comes out and kind of looks a bit sheepish on her face, as if I meant to know what's happened, and she doesn't want me to know what's happened, though I did know, and well, I didn't care, but deep down I did. I told her I didn't care. That's what I'm trying to say. But of course I cared, because I was already feeling like I wanted to try to build something with her. And you might think that's ridiculous, and I get that, though how do people meet people and stay together? Everyone on earth is here because people were together and found themselves together somehow, and I thought my meeting with her was one of those situations where people meet and become something. I have every right to feel like that, and I felt like that. I just said, "I'm happy to have a massage until you finish work," and she said okay, she's happy to do that, and I just had to put to the back of my mind what had happened before I arrived and just think never mind, so that's all I did. During the massage, I was saying how I felt and what a great time I had with her the night before, and what I would like to do and how long I'm going to be staying in Thailand. I said, surely there's going to be some way where you can spend the rest of your time with me, because I want to get to know you. I'm happy to give you more than you would get from working. I'm happy to support you so that you don't have to worry about work. Surely you can arrange something. She said she would try her best. She actually called her boss, she said, and said that she wanted some time off, and she wanted to do what she wanted to do, and apparently she came back saying it's fine, but the boss would like me to pay some money because she wasn't going to be able to work, and if we were able to do that, then she'd love to spend the rest of my holiday with me. I agreed to pay that, and when the other staff member arrived, she said, "Okay, I'm free until the rest of your holiday." That was just over a week I had to spend with her, and I was excited. I was over the moon at the prospect of being able to spend the rest of my holiday with her, that nothing else mattered. If I look back at that moment in time, I'd just shake my head and wonder, what was I doing? What was I thinking? Why was I falling for the trap? Why was I falling for this false sense of security that I was getting by being with her? Why was I feeling that what I had with her was anything other than what it really was? I don't know, though I did feel that, and as the days are going by of that holiday, each day is feeling like I'm spending a month with her, and I'm getting to know her every month, but only a day at a time. When I only had a few days left, I was already so in love with her and so happy in her company that I was coming up with all kinds of solutions to make sure that we could be together somehow, because that was the only thing that mattered. I wanted and needed to be with her. I'd considered Thailand for retirement. I'd already thought about that, though when I actually thought about it seriously, like 100% seriously, I kept thinking, well, I could do this, but my future isn't guaranteed. I could do that, but my future is also not guaranteed. I don't have enough money. I had my house, which I paid about 80% of the mortgage off at this point, probably had about £150,000 of equity in the house. I had other savings to the tune of about £50,000 and a few other personal items, such as a car that I could probably sell, and I could have ended up with around $220,000, which I felt like was a lot of money. Then I'm thinking, well, I need insurance, I need a place to live, I need things to do, and if I want to be with her, I will need to give her money, and everything I work out and come back to is, I don't have enough money to retire. I believe that I could have very easily convinced myself that I did have enough money to retire, and I suppose I probably would have done so if I wanted to be single and live a very frugal existence, though I didn't want that. I wanted her as part of my retirement. I kept coming back to the fact that I don't have enough money, but I'm starting to think maybe I will see if she can come back to England with me. We can spend a few years there, save really hard, and then retire in Thailand when I've got enough money to do so. That's what I was thinking, although I hadn't said that to her yet. I knew from the moment I looked into the visa situation how difficult it would be to get her a visa. We would need to get married to make it easier. I'd need to have enough income, which I had. I'd need to have a place to live, which I had. And I'm kind of coming to this idea that, okay, I've only known her for just over a week, though it's the situation and the circumstances you find yourself in that make you do things quicker than you would otherwise do. That's something that I would really like to say here before anyone says you're stupid or whatever. And yes, I was stupid, though you have to understand the reasoning at the time when you find yourself in a position that you have to do something quicker than you usually would have to do it. Because if you didn't do it quick, then it wouldn't have worked. It's not like you've got time to spare. It's not like I could have spent a year in Thailand getting to know her longer. It was like, this is the time I've got, this is the feelings I've got, and this is what I want. And this is what I'm thinking to myself when I'm with her. Not yet saying anything to her, not even seeing her family yet or anything. About a day before I was due to go back, only a day, I told her exactly how I felt. I told her that you make me feel things that I've never felt for anybody else in my life before. You make me feel like a better version of myself and a happier version of myself. You make me want to be with you. I told her pretty much plain as day, this is what I want, this is what I can do for you in the meantime, so you don't need to work. Though I would like this to happen, and I would like that to happen. And if you're okay with it, then that's what we can do. By this and that, I mean, let's get married, get a visa for you to come home with me, let's spend a few years there, saving as hard as we can, and then let's come back to Thailand and live the good life. That's what it was. She just jumped all over the idea. She said I made her so happy. You have to remember that it's not like I'm wanting this and she's just there not showing any emotion or not showing any sense of excitement. It's not like she's an object. It was like she's excited and at the same time she's happy. And that's amazing. And I'm happy that you can help support my family, she said. I'm happy that you want to be with me. I like you. I like how friendly you are, how kind you are. She was really playing into my feelings in a way that I believed her feelings were as equal and as real as mine. And I really did believe that. Of course, we didn't have time to get married then, and I did, in the back of my mind, understand that I would probably need to go back home first and really feel like if it was the right thing to do. I probably knew it might not have been, though when I thought about not doing it, it made me feel depressed and sad and like I didn't want to live in the same house or even go back to England. I felt like having her with me, in my mind, was something that allowed me to go back the way I did. We decided that I would go back, and I would take more holiday off work when I could, to get married, and from there we would arrange the visa to get her to England, and then from there we would save. That was the plan. I gave her £2,000 before I left, and that was, I felt, a very small amount to make the person that I'd just fallen in love with, and the person I actually wanted to get married to and spend the rest of my life with, comfortable while she was waiting for me, and I said I was happily going to send more. She agreed to stop working and spend time with her family and spend time with her son, because she was going to be out of the country for a few years or even longer until we got set up in Thailand. I left pretty heartbroken not being with her anymore, yet understanding that I'd just found the love of my life. It had taken me nearly 55 years, though I'd found the person I wanted to be with. I felt fortunate, I felt lucky, I felt excited in the knowledge that I had just met the most beautiful girl I'd ever met, and she loved me and I loved her, and we had plans, we had a future, and we had everything set up. Returning home was awful, and it was such a contrast to the year before, after that incident that I saw in Pattaya, having these underlying negative thoughts towards Thailand based on what I'd seen, yet I had a good time and I'd met girls, yet I'd never fallen for one of them. Now I really understood it when a guy says that they felt like they were being torn away from where they belonged. To me, it wasn't necessarily the country itself, it was her. Though she was Thailand to me. I think that's the thing. She was Thailand. Thailand was the place where she was from, and therefore she was Thailand. Me moving to Thailand in the future for retirement wasn't because I wanted to live in Thailand. I'd already decided that. It was because I wanted to be with her, and she wanted to be in Thailand. Therefore, she was Thailand. I think that's the thing that many people don't understand when you're talking about foreigners in Thailand and how difficult things are. It's not necessarily that you want to be in Thailand, it's that you want to be with the person you want to be with who is from Thailand, and therefore you're in Thailand as a sacrifice and a compromise. That's what I believe it was. I arrived back home feeling down in the dumps, though also excited about the future, and we started speaking together all the time. I really do, even to this day, still believe that she stopped working at the massage place because she didn't need to. I sent her 10,000 baht a week. I thought doing it weekly instead of monthly would reaffirm my commitment towards her and love, and I'd managed to book holiday off closer to the end of the year, which was 3 months after I'd arrived home. As soon as I got that booked, I felt a bit of a sense of calm, like, okay, I'm going to see her soon. We're going to follow the plans to get married, and from there, we can start the visa process to take her home with me, and then we can start living again. If I have to look back at this and think, what was I doing? What was wrong with me? Was I mentally deficient? Perhaps I was. I was so sold on the idea of her, I was so fixated on being with her that nothing else mattered. The money I was giving her didn't matter. The extra money that I'd given to her for her family didn't matter. Again, I'm thinking about, she's not in Isan. Her family is not in Isan. Her family are with her in Hua Hin. I'm going to be meeting them soon when we get married. I'd seen pictures of where she lived, and the fact that they were together with her family there really gave me that sense of confidence that she wasn't just up to no good, because her family was there, and she would never do that. Each day, though, waiting to go back to Thailand to get married was very, very difficult to live. Each day felt like a month in a bad way. When I was with her, it felt like a month in a good day. Then each day was awful, though, back in England. Finally, though, it was time to go back. I was going straight to Hua Hin after landing in Bangkok, and it was just the most excited I'd ever been. I never felt that excited before. Even when I was a young child at Christmas, I never felt that excited. I was just so infatuated with her that the very fact that I knew, and if I was always front and centre of my mind, the very fact that I knew that there were girls like that all over Thailand who would probably be with me in the same way as her, why was she different? She was, though. They're always different, yet they're not. It's a very difficult thing to come to terms with and understand and work out, though, and she was different somehow for me. Just the same way that when a guy meets a girl, she's different for him. Someone is different for somebody every single time. When I finally got back to Hua Hin and she was there waiting for me at the hotel that I'd already booked and paid for the whole time there, the fact that she was in the hotel room already, and when I knocked on the door and she opened it, and she was just the embodiment of what I dreamed about her doing. I didn't say when I come back, can you make sure that you do like this, or can you make sure you do like that? I didn't say any of that. I said to her, I'm coming back, you can go and stay in the hotel. She opened the door and looked exactly like I wanted her to look, did the things that I wanted her to do, behaved the way I wanted her to behave. Not through force, or not through, I want you to do this. Through, I felt a real deep love and affection towards me, a real respect towards me. She was just like a vision of perfection. From there, all the doubts I had, which were very minimal, for every 1,000 positive thoughts, I probably only had 1 or 2 little doubts in my mind, but now I had none. I didn't have any doubts at all. Although I arrived quite early on, we didn't leave the hotel till the following day, and from there we got married. As planned, it involved a trip to Bangkok for me to get the paperwork, though I brought everything else with me, and we got married. We didn't do any kind of party or anything. It was just, we got married on paper, and that's the first step to getting her home. From there, I did go and see her mother and child who were living in Hua Hin, in a house that I was paying for at this point. They were there. There was no lying, there was no deceit, there was no cheating, it was all real. She told me, though, after I'd met them, and they were very kind towards me and very considerate, and they even said thank you. She not stop talk about you, her mother said. Her mother spoke English quite well, and although at the time I didn't think about it, I think she worked in the massage place or perhaps in a bar, perhaps she did. I mean, I would probably bet a lot of money that she did, because her mother spoke English. She talk about you all the time, she miss you, she's so happy, see you, everything. Yeah, I guess she was probably in that world as well, and got her daughter into it. They said that we needn't worry about anything. Her mother said that she's going to stay in Hua Hin and look after her child, and just said thank you for agreeing to send money. I'd agreed to send her mother 20,000 a month every month when we weren't in Thailand, and I agreed to do that indefinitely until her child turned 21. That was the agreement that I'd had with her, 20,000 a month. That didn't include money I gave to her as well, and I was happy to do it. I was paid quite well, and I believed it was a small price to pay to have pure happiness and to have the lady that I loved with me at all times. 20,000 for her family, 20,000 for her, just under £1,000 in total, and I could probably save £1,500 a month out of my salary while still paying down the mortgage, and that was still being okay together. So all in, it didn't feel like it was too bad. The thought of her being with me, though, it really excited me. I'd already found a legal firm to assist in getting her visa, and it was expected to take a couple of months. The thing was, after we went to go and get the TB test she needed, given the fact it was going to be longer than a 6-month visa, and she'd already, and I forgot to mention this, got the English language requirements done when I was in England last time, she'd already gone and passed the test for that, we had all the paperwork ready. It was just going to be a question of dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and because I had everything, I was told that they can't really decline the visa. It's not like that. It's not going to be discretionary. If you have the paperwork, they will give you the visa, and I had the paperwork. 2 months after I returned home, she indeed had the visa, and that was one of the most exciting things that had ever happened to me, one of the most exciting thoughts in my life, one of the best things ever. She had the visa, and I couldn't believe it. On the one hand, I could believe it because of all the planning and all the money I'd spent to get it, though the fact that it was real now, the fact that I could pinch myself and not wake up from the dream, because I had so many dreams about this happening, it was one of the best times of my life. Aside from meeting her, and aside from the times I spent with her, her getting the visa was great. We'd already gone into 2015 at this point, so I managed to book 2 weeks off holiday. Let's go and have our late honeymoon, and let's return home together, and from there, let's continue down the path of building our life together. Everything seemed to be going so well and coming together so well, and it was the best time of my life. When I got back though, when I saw her there again, that was the best time of my life yet again. It continued to get better, things continued to improve, and life continued to get better. We went to Koh Samui for a week for our late honeymoon, stayed in a beautiful resort, and she was just the embodiment of perfection. We spent a few days with her family in her Hua Hin after that, and they were saying how much she'd always been talking about me, how much she missed me and how much she loved me, and I was saying the same thing. They kept saying thank you for helping to support, and by this point, they'd already moved into a nicer house, 15,000 baht a month, and I was only giving them 20. Her mother worked though, she said again, probably maybe in a massage place or maybe in a bar, who knows what her mother did. Her mother was only 18 years older than her, so younger than me, so she probably did something like that. Her son was being looked after by her mother, though they always had other family members around too. But they moved into that nicer house, and I felt very proud that I was able to give them that nicer place to live. They had a new motorcycle parked up front, and I felt very proud, I really did, to be able to give that to them. My wife, who I can call her that now, and the fact I was able to call her that sounded great, and she seemed happy, and everything seemed great, everyone seemed happy, and we flew to England together, and I considered that to be the start of our life, because I wasn't going to be separated from her ever again. I thought I would be with her to the day I died. I thought that was how it was. For the most part, for the first few months, it was fantastic. I would wake up and go to work, and I would come back, and the house would be clean and food would be ready, and we'd spend time together, and the weekends we'd go to places together. I'm putting money away, saving over the first few months, and I'm giving money to her and her family as agreed, and everything's going according to plan. The cracks started to appear a few months after that, maybe after she'd been there for only 3 or 4 months, not long at all. It wasn't that she was going out and getting drunk and meeting Thai people, like I've heard time and time again, and behaving in inappropriate ways. That wasn't the case. It was that she seemed to be starting to get a bit depressed and a bit lonely, because she wasn't going out and meeting people. She wasn't interacting with people. Although we were able to buy Thai food, her favourite was som tam. Som tam's a fortune, papaya is expensive, this is expensive, and although I was buying it for her and I was happy to, she said it's not the same as the ones in Thailand. Well, I suppose that's what foreigners have to put up with every time in Thailand. The food there's not the same either, though you get over it. She seemed to be getting very lonely and upset, though it wasn't affecting our relationship in how she performed or how she behaved, or the fact that the house wasn't clean or no food ready when I got back. That was always the same. But she started talking about how she missed Thailand, and she can't wait for us to live in Thailand in the future. Again, to me, she was Thailand. If that's where she wanted to be, that's where I wanted to be, not necessarily because of Thailand itself, that wasn't it. It was because of being with her that I wanted to be there. That was it. That was Thailand. She was Thailand. I kept saying, well, it's going to be. I'd worked out probably a few years, probably at least 4 years, maybe 5, which I believed would give her enough money to move to Thailand in a sensible way. To start with, she said that's fine, and I kept telling her, by that point, you could probably have permanent rights to live in England, maybe even citizenship, which would give you more benefits to travel to other places in the future, and she said that she actually understood that. As it started from month 3 or month 4, as month 6 comes around, all we're talking about is moving to Thailand, and what we're going to do when we get there, and what Thailand is going to be like. Month 7 rolls around, and well, maybe we can make it work in 3 years, and well, never mind about you getting citizenship, maybe we can make it work in 3 years, and then she's happier again and everything's fine. Another month or so goes by, maybe we could do something else and we could get it to work in 2.5 years. Maybe if I don't give money to you but I still give money to your family, we can go in 2 years. It got to a year where we've sort of already decided, after that first year, we're going to be moving back to Thailand in another year. Although I understood I didn't necessarily have enough money to do that, it was the belief that we were going to go to Thailand and be semi-retired, though we would look for opportunities to try to make more money there. That was the biggest mistake of all, the biggest mistake I'd made, the biggest thing I'd done wrong, the most stupid thing ever. Believing her when she said, I work in massage place before, so maybe we could have massage shop and have lady working for us. Maybe we could have bar, just a typical expat sort of thing that people do who shouldn't do them. We're talking about them as if it's the thing that's going to solve our problems, instead of the thing that's going to give me all the problems that are going to come later. We can go to Thailand before we've got enough money to do that, with the idea to make money there. And that wasn't my intention when we left Thailand for England. It was 5 years, hard work, hard saving, move to Thailand, never need to work again, till, after the first year, we're moving back in a year, and we've got a decent chunk of money, though not enough. Let's invest that money. That's what we kept coming back to. Let's invest that money into a business, and with that business, it's going to see us for the future. The business was meant to be the retirement, as opposed to the money I was going to save. That's what changed. It was, I suppose, her insistence, her happiness when we talked about Thailand, her performance when we thought of Thailand coming nearer, her exciting behaviour when we thought of Thailand, that pushed me towards the idea because of how she was with me. I've tried to avoid saying this, but up until I was about 45, I didn't really have much experience with the ladies. I'd never done that, and that's why I started travelling. I did South America to start with, from the age of 45 till about 50, travelling to countries there, and I was getting more female attention than I'd ever had. When I was 47, I actually fell in love with a girl from Brazil, and it was a really exciting time of my life, though things didn't progress from there because she ended it with me. Not by scamming me or taking money from me, but she ended it with me when we were trying to commit to the long-term relationship. Okay, I'd given her quite a lot of money. It wasn't like I loved her, but really, I suppose it was just the fact that I hadn't had much attention from the ladies in my younger years, and the fact that my wife now, who I loved more than anything, was just everything I thought a wife was going to be, and everything I thought my wife was meant to be. Not there at my every beck and call, not there at my every whim and desire to do everything I pleased, but there to allow me to live the life that a man is meant to lead. Wake up in the morning and his wife's there available to him, just happy and smiley. Go back home after work and, like I said, the food's ready and the house is clean and she's available and beautiful and attractive and attentive and everything you'd want. Then watching TV together and she's there and available and everything and she's just perfect. That's what I was drawn to, and it was because of that why I believe I changed the plans to being the most stupid plans ever. As that year's coming to an end, the house is already on the market. 3 months into that year, we've already got an offer on it and that's going to come through. Everything's coming together. It wasn't even that whole year had gone by when we were flying back to Thailand, and although I said I had approximately, with everything, about £220,000 before this, with the plan to retire with $350 if I could, I only had about $200,000 because during that time of us coming to this plan, I'd already sent some money to her family for them to do a business, which was going to be with me involved. Yet when we arrived, apparently it had gone wrong, had problems, and that money was lost. Instead of thinking to myself, that's a huge red flag and a huge warning sign that you need to turn and run as fast as you can before anything else goes wrong, I just thought it was an honest mistake, and at least they tried, and at least I was going to be part of it if they made it work. It was always us, me, her, and the family. It was never them and me. It was, we're really sorry, it wasn't going to work, but we couldn't wait for you to come in, and we were hoping to give you some of the business and some money back, and we were hoping that you could grow into the business. That's what it was meant to be, but it failed. And I just took it as a failure. It was upsetting to understand that, because I had now £200,000, and although it felt like an okay amount of money, I knew it wasn't enough to retire. I suppose even knowing that, and even knowing that it was probably against my best intentions to do the things that we did after that, I was just so drawn to the feeling that I had with her that I couldn't do anything else. I was powerless in a way, because from there it was, what are we going to do? We'd already talked about lots of things, and the thing that I kept coming back to, because she seemed to be the most excited about, was we were going to buy a small piece of land in Hua Hin, or just on the outskirts of Hua Hin, and we were going to build a few townhouses on the land. I had enough money to do that. We could get 5 townhouses, live in one, and rent the 4 out. That was what I kept coming back to as being the best idea. Like I said, semi-retired, and the money that we had would be for the business, and the business would give us the retirement. That was what the plan was. As I said, we had enough money to do that based on everything. If we lived in one, rented 4 out, we should get 15,000 each for them. And again, it's crazy to understand that I was justifying 60,000 baht a month income, given the fact that her family was going to get 20 of that. The rest was going to be for us to live, and I was justifying that, thinking this was a great idea. These were only going to be small townhouses, though you have to understand that. And given the fact that there were 5 of them, just 2 or 3 bedrooms in each, rented to foreigners, it was 2 million baht for the land, and the construction came to 4.5 million. Again, I thought that was a great buy, and I thought what we were doing was great, and we had cash in the bank left over for emergencies, and that was what we were meant to do, and that's what we did. I can't believe that I did it, though, and I'm shaking my head as I'm saying it, though it just seemed like it was the best idea in the world. I suppose deep down everybody wants to be a landlord. Everybody wants to own property and have people pay them to live in their property. I suppose deep down everybody wants that feeling of power and of control, and although it had to go in my wife's name, I didn't think anything about that. Although we got the land and construction started, and we're renting a small place in the meantime, and things are going to budget and things are going as planned, I suppose things were bound to go wrong in some kind of way. Not necessarily business-wise or anything-wise, just the fact that I just didn't know anything about the property market and how easy it was to rent places out. I just thought it was like home. You've got a property to rent out, and you can rent it out the next day, and there are people competing to rent property. Why I didn't look and do the research into that, I don't know. I suppose I didn't, because I just listened to what my wife said. We would talk about doing this thing, and she would talk about how great it was. And after we talked, before I even had a chance to say anything, she'd be all over me and saying how exciting it was, and I was living the fantasy and living the dream, or I thought I was. It took about 7 months to get to the point where the thing was built, and it was within budget. We got a proper company to do it, only small places, but nice inside, fully furnished. I had about 1.3 million back cash in my bank, 400 of which could be used for the marriage extension, and we moved into the end unit. We had 5 next to each other, and again, only small places, but that's all we needed. Each place had a parking space out front, we had a wall built around the entire thing, and a little bit of an area at the back of each place where people could sit out, and it was everything that we thought it was going to be. I contacted a number of agencies to help us get them rented out, and it was almost immediately apparent that everything that she said and everything her family had said about possibilities and how it would work was not necessarily a lie, but it was, I would say, extreme optimism as to what was going to happen. We had someone come to look at the other end unit, and they ummed and ahed about it, and they took it on. That was after about 3 weeks of listing them. We have now 3 units available, and okay, we've got a little bit of money coming in, though it took 4 months to rent out one of the other places. A month later, the person moves out of the end unit, and I'm still giving her family the same money I'd agreed to. My money is going down, though, because while we had one person in, and then a few months later somebody else moves in, we were never, over the next 2 years, more than 2 people or 2 couples in a property, never more than 2 or 3 rentals occupied at once, and we had 4 to rent out. Foolishly, instead of trying to change course of action, we need to go back to the UK, we've got this retirement and it will be something, we need to make a bit more money, I allowed the insistence of her to convince me that this needs to be something we continue doing, regardless of if it's sensible or not, up until I only had my visa money left in the bank. It was then that I thought we need to go back to the UK. Then I realised that her stay in the UK had expired. Why I didn't check that beforehand, I don't know, and she wasn't able to go to the UK then. It's a very bad position, because we had 2 people in those properties at the moment. We would have had 4 in there all the time, or we should have had. They should have been fully occupied all the time, but they weren't. That was the problem. If they were fully occupied, perhaps things would be okay now, though they weren't. 2 were full at once, and sometimes only 1, never 0, though the fact her family was getting 20,000 and we were meant to be getting 40,000 to live on, then you need to replace the furniture someone's broken in one, and the deposit that they gave wasn't enough for that. It was probably one of the most stupid things I'd ever done. It got to the point where I got down to the visa money. No possibility to get her back to England now, again because the visa had expired, foolishly. We should have followed the plan we had, and we should have done, but now it's I need to go back and she has to stay here. That was what it was meant to be. We were still married. I thought we were good together. We were a little bit strained with each other, though not falling out, and not, we're not going to stay together, but it was I don't have a choice. I found myself returning to England, absolutely heartbroken and devastated about what happened, though still thinking we've got 5 townhouses that we could rent out, and that's going to make up part of the retirement. I need to work a bit longer, maybe, and it's going to be dreadful and awful. I didn't think it was going to be as awful as it was, because when I'm at home and we're speaking, she's becoming more distant. Sometimes she doesn't answer. When I question her about it, she said it's the stress of the strain of the situation and how difficult it is, and I tell her, well, I understand, but I'm the one here working and not with you, and I miss you. Before too long, she's not answering the phone for a few days in a row, and I just felt something was wrong. I really felt something was wrong, and although she spoke to me then, I just felt like I had to go back to Thailand. I didn't really have much money at all. I had to rent a house, I'd had to spend money for that, but I had a couple of £1,000s, so I went back to Thailand, probably 4 months after leaving the first time. When I went back, she was still in the house, though her family had moved into one of the other units, and there was somebody living in another one, and another unit, and one was empty. But she said they were all empty when I was there, when I was back in England, but she was now pocketing the money. That was all that it seemed. Then I started discovering lots of uncomfortable things that had been happening, and she's back in the massage place I found out, and she was with other guys, and it was a huge spiral downwards from there. I feel like from when I left, she'd already come to the conclusion that she didn't want me anymore, and she was just staying with me while I might be available to give something at some point, because I was still giving money to the family. That's the thing, when I was in England, I still gave 20,000 a month to her family. We had a huge fallout and she's saying she's trying her best. I said, well, everything went wrong. We should have stayed in England. She said I can't stay there, and well, it was awful. It was an awful time for me. I still hadn't given up hope yet, though. I still thought we could fix things and work things out and be okay together. I really hoped that would be the case, though it didn't take long for me to understand that that wasn't going to happen. I did have to contact the lawyer, told him about my situation, can we try to force a sale of the properties? He said yes, my retainer's 300,000 baht, and we'll take it from there. I didn't want to pay 300,000 baht, I didn't have 300,000 baht at the time, and yeah, that was it. I went to speak to her again, didn't tell her I spoke to a lawyer, and just begged her and said, well, can we try to work this out? We've got people in 3 of the units now, which she didn't tell me about, but okay, we can be together. She said my family not pay this one, and this person, friend here, just pay 5,000. Okay, this person pay 15, but we don't get the full price. And it was pretty obvious that it was all over. I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to admit when I was returning back home alone, completely heartbroken and devastated. I didn't want to admit it when she didn't answer the phone for weeks on end. About 3 weeks later, she answered it and said she'd been thinking, and she doesn't think it will work. She said she will sell the properties and she will send some money to me, and I said okay, though I never heard from her again. Although I went back to Thailand quite a long time later, everything had already been sold. As I said, this was a number of years later, just before COVID in fact, but everything was gone. I couldn't see her, couldn't contact her, and I had to give up. I still loved her at that point, and embarrassingly, I still love her today, and I would give everything to be back with her if I could be. I just wish we'd stayed in England and followed the original plan, because that would have worked, but we didn't. I followed her plan, and her plan destroyed me. It really did. If I look back at the whole thing and the whole situation, I just can't understand how I got so infatuated by a girl that I met in a massage place. I can't understand how I did that. I can't understand how I threw all sense and reason away to be with her and do everything that I did in the way I did. I still can't understand that. I don't think I will ever be able to understand why I did it. It was love, though. I loved her, and I believed she loved me, and I did everything I did just to be able to be with her, and for her to make me feel the way I felt, because how I felt with her was better than how I'd felt doing anything else ever in my life. That's the only way I'm able to describe what I did, and the only way I can say what I did and the way I did it, for the reason I did it. There's no other way I can. How she made me feel, and the love I had for her, and the amazing way that I was able to feel around her, is the reason that I did what I did. If I could go back to the time when I met her, would I have done the same thing? You probably would say I would. Although I would have pushed back more and said, no, we're going to stay in England and that's it, and I would have put my foot down on that one. That's the only thing I would change. Other than that, I would still have done what I did, because the way she made me feel was better than I'd ever felt in my life. What I would say, and again, who am I to give any kind of advice here, what I would say is, if you find yourself falling in love with someone and you find yourself making decisions that you are not in your best interest to do them, I would say be very careful. I didn't do anything that was in my best interest in order to be with her, and I'm not with her now anyway, and I don't have what I had before. I'm still working and it's not fun, it's not a great life. I do wish I could go back to be with her, because that would give me a great life again. It was such a great life, and it could have been a great life forever if I didn't allow her to get what she had over me, which was owning everything I had in Thailand. I allowed that to happen, believing it was love and believing it would still be love to this day, and it's not. And that's the thing that hurts the most.